I thought we were perfect. At least, that's what I kept telling myself every day. Sarah and I had our problems like anyone else, but we always made it through. She was everything to me. Beautiful, charming, smart. I never doubted that she loved me. Or so I thought. It wasn't until that damn night that everything came crashing down. I came home from work early, thinking I could surprise her. I had flowers in my hand, a smile on my face. It was supposed to be a peaceful evening dinner, wine, maybe even a movie. Instead, I walked into the apartment and I knew something was off. The silence hit me first. Normally, she'd be humming around the kitchen or talking to me as soon as I walked in. But tonight, nothing. I called her name, stepping further inside. Sarah. I asked, my voice carrying through the apartment. Nothing. I walked into the bedroom, and there she was. On the phone, with Jake, the last person I thought I'd ever hear her talk to again. The guy she'd sworn she was done with. Her back was to me, but I could hear her voice, soft and low. I miss you too. I don't know if I can keep pretending that I'm happy with him. Sarah, I said, the word barely leaving my throat. My hand started shaking. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum. I had to be hearing things. This couldn't be real. She whipped around, her face pale, eyes wide. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I thought you said you were done with him, said my voice rough, barely holding it together. She didn't speak. She just stared at me like a deer caught in headlights. Is this what you've been hiding from me? All this time? I could barely keep my voice steady. The anger and hurt boiled inside me, threatening to spill over. She opened her mouth again, but then shut it. Her eyes welled with tears, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Not right now. I stepped back, my mind spinning. The room felt like it was closing in on me. How long? I asked, each word a stab in my gut. She didn't answer. Just wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm sorry, she whispered. Sorry? That was it? Sorry didn't fix what had just been shattered. It didn't change the fact that the one person I trusted had lied to me, had chosen him over me. I turned away, pacing in the living room. The flowers I had brought dropped to the floor, forgotten. You were with him, weren't you? I asked, trying to steady my breathing. You never stopped. All this time, you were with him, behind my back. I didn't want to hurt you, she began, but I cut her off, spinning around to face her. You didn't want to hurt me? I laughed, but it came out bitter, full of disbelief. You've been sleeping with your ex behind my back, and you didn't want to hurt me? My voice cracked at the end. How could you do this to me? After everything? She didn't answer. She just stared at the floor, her hands trembling. I took a deep breath, trying to push down the feeling rising in my chest, the suffocating weight of betrayal. I thought we were happy. I thought I was enough for you, I whispered. The words cutting through the air like a blade. You are, she whispered, her voice barely audible. But I wasn't. Not enough. Not for her. I shook my head, feeling the sting of tears I refused to let fall. How could I have been so blind? I asked myself, my voice cracking. I walked to the door, my body moving on autopilot. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to get away. I needed to think, to breathe. I stepped into the hallway, my legs weak beneath me. The door slammed behind me, the sound echoing through the quiet apartment. My heart shattered into a million pieces, and I was left standing there in the cold. How could I have been so blind? All these years, I thought she was the one. But now, I didn't even know who she was anymore. The truth hit me like a freight train, and I wasn't sure if I could survive the impact. I tried to block it out, but the memories wouldn't leave me. They came at me like waves, every time I closed my eyes, every time I tried to breathe. Sarah's laugh, her touch, her smile. They were all so real, so warm. How could something so perfect turn into this? How could someone who made me feel invincible, like I was enough, betray me so completely? I sat in the living room, staring at the space where she used to sit. Her presence was still there, lingering like a ghost. I kept telling myself I shouldn't let her win by allowing these memories to control me, but the truth was, I missed her. I missed us. I leaned back, closing my eyes, and suddenly it felt like I was right there again. Our first date. The way she smiled at me, that nervous excitement in her eyes, I could still feel the warmth of her hand in mine as we walked through the park, laughing about nothing. I remembered how easy it had been to talk to her, how we fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. God, I was so stupid, I muttered under my breath. That's when it hit me, the cruel reality. Every touch, every whispered promise, every I love you had been a lie. She'd been lying to me all along. I wasn't enough. And now, she was gone. And so was everything I thought we had built. The doorbell rang, and I jumped. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to face her. But deep down, I knew I had to. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. With a heavy sigh, I stood up and walked to the door. I opened it. And there she was, Sarah, standing on the other side. Her eyes red-rimmed, her hair a little messier than usual. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't say anything at first. She just stood there like she didn't know what to say. I know you're angry with me, she said finally, her voice soft, almost pleading. I deserve it. I stepped back, allowing her to come inside, though every part of me screamed to slam the door shut. But I didn't. I needed to hear her say it. Needed her to say what I already knew. You think? I snapped, my voice rough, my chest tight with frustration. You deserve more than just anger, Sarah. I gave you everything. And I choked on my words, not wanting to scream, but feeling it welling up inside me. You betrayed me. After everything, how could you do that? She flinched at my words, taking a step back. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice trembling. I never wanted to hurt you. I was ... confused. It wasn't supposed to happen. I thought you thought, what? I cut her off. You thought you could keep me in the dark forever? That I wouldn't find out? All those nights you'd come home late, all the excuses, and now I see it. I was a fool. She looked down at her feet, as if the floor would swallow her whole. I never meant to lie to you, she said, her voice cracking. But I couldn't let go of him, not completely. He's always been there. And I couldn't figure out how to let him go and still be with you. I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh and raw. So you didn't love me? You didn't want to be with me? I took a step toward her, my voice trembling with the weight of it all. Was I just a placeholder? Was I nothing more than a distraction while you kept holding on to him? Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked away, as if unable to meet my gaze. I didn't know how to let go. She whispered, more to herself than to me. I thought I could love you both. I thought I could have both of you, but I was wrong. Yeah, you were, I replied, my voice barely a whisper now. You broke me, Sarah. You shattered me. And now I don't even know who you are anymore. Ow. The words hung in the air, thick and painful. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't look at the person who had once been my everything and now was a stranger. She reached out, as if she wanted to touch me, but I stepped back. I couldn't. I wasn't ready to forgive her. No, now. Not yet. I don't know what to do anymore, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said. My chest felt tight, like a weight was pressing down on me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, but all I could do was stand there, holding it all in. You've already made your choice, Sarah, and now I have to make mine. She didn't say anything else. She just stood there, tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling. I need space, I said, my voice almost breaking. I need to figure out what to do next. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending. She nodded slowly, like she understood the finality of it all. She turned and walked out of the door, leaving me standing in the silence. And in that silence, all I could hear was the sound of my heart breaking. The worst part? Seeing her act like nothing was wrong, like everything between us was still the same. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her face calm and unaffected. I stood in the doorway, my chest tight, feeling like I was going to explode. I had already seen the signs. I knew what she'd done. I couldn't pretend anymore. Couldn't keep burying the truth like I had before. The lies, the deceit, the coldness that had crept into her eyes over the past few weeks, it was all real. I took a step forward, my voice shaky but determined. "Sarah," I said, my breath hitching in my throat. "How could you? How could you do this to me?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "What are you talking about?" Her voice was too calm, too indifferent. She was acting like she hadn't just destroyed everything. I clenched my fists. The urge to scream, to make her feel something, was overwhelming. But instead, I forced the words out. Each one like a knife to my chest. "I know about you and Jake. I know you've been seeing him behind my back." Her fingers stopped scrolling. The silence stretched, and then she finally looked up at me. There was no guilt in her eyes, no remorse, just that cold, detached look that sent a chill through me. "I don't know what you want me to say," she said flatly. "It's over, okay? I'm done pretending." I took a step back, the words slicing through me. Done pretending. That's what she thought of us now. A game. A lie. My heart dropped into my stomach. "So that's it then?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Just like that? You're done with me?" She didn't respond. She just stared at me, emotionless, as if I was some stranger asking for answers she didn't. "Oh, you don't even care, do you?" I whispered, my throat tight. "You don't care about me? You don't care about us." Her face remained impassive. "No," she said, her voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "I don't." I wanted to punch something. Anything. The anger, the betrayal, the pain. It all hit me at once, overwhelming me. I took a step closer, my hands trembling. "And you didn't think I deserved better?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't think I deserved the truth?" She shook her head slowly, almost pityingly. "I don't owe you anything, okay? I've been clear with you. It was never going to work between us. You knew that." I stumbled back as if her words had physically knocked me down. "I gave you everything," I yelled. "I gave you my heart, my trust. She interrupted, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You think you trusted me? You've been so wrapped up in your little fantasy world, you never even noticed what was really going on." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. My little fantasy world. She was right. I had been blind. I had trusted her without question, without realizing the distance growing between us. I shook my head, feeling the weight of everything crashing down on me. "I thought I was enough for you," I whispered, more to myself than to her. But I was just a placeholder, wasn't I? Sarah didn't answer. She just stood there, arms crossed, looking at me like she had already moved on. And in that moment, I realized she had. She was already gone. The person I thought I loved had been replaced by someone else. Someone who didn't care. I felt sick. The realization was more than I could bear. "I can't do this anymore," I muttered, turning away from her, my heart breaking with every step. "I can't keep pretending that everything's fine when it's not." I grabbed my bag, my hands shaking as I threw a few clothes inside. I couldn't look at her anymore. I couldn't stand to be in the same room as her. I was drowning in a sea of hurt, and the only way out was to leave. Sarah didn't say anything. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't even look up from her phone again as I walked to the door. The weight of the decision hit me like a truck. But as I stepped into the hallway and slammed the door behind me, I felt a strange sense of relief. No more pretending. No more lies. I was done. I walked away, not looking back. I didn't see it coming. One minute I was walking home from work, the next I was waking up in a sterile hospital room. I blinked, trying to make sense of the white walls and the beeping machines. My head throbbed, and when I tried to move, everything felt wrong. A nurse walked in, giving me a small, polite smile. "You're awake," she said softly. "How do you feel?" I shook my head, trying to remember what had happened, but there was nothing. No memory of the accident, no memory of what led up to it. My mind was blank, and that blankness scared me. "What happened?" I managed to croak out, my voice weak. "You were in a car accident," the nurse explained, checking the machines. "You've been unconscious for a few days, but you're lucky." You don't have any major injuries. Lucky, I repeated, the word feeling like a lie in my mouth. But there was something else. A nagging emptiness. I should remember something, but I couldn't. Do you remember anything? She asked, her voice soft but probing. I swallowed, trying to grasp at something, anything, but nothing came to me. No flashes of my life, no moments that felt important. No, I said, and it sounded like a confession. I don't remember anything, she nodded sympathetically. It's not uncommon after a trauma. It might take time, but you'll get your memory back. It's just a matter of time. Time. That word echoed in my mind. The time I couldn't remember. How much had I lost? How much had slipped away from me like sand through my fingers? A week passed before I was able to leave the hospital. The doctors told me it could take a while for the memories to return, but they assured me that I would eventually be fine. The physical wounds were healed, but the emotional ones, they were buried in a void, and I didn't know whether that was a blessing or a curse. I walked out of the hospital, unsure of where to go, what to do. I didn't remember who I had been before. Who I was now, the life I had before, with Sarah, with everything I thought I knew, was gone. For the first time in weeks, maybe longer. I felt ... light. Like something that had been dragging me down had been removed. It was an odd feeling, and I didn't know if it was relief or fear. But then, I saw her, Sarah, standing at the door to my apartment like she had every right to be there. The moment our eyes met, my stomach twisted, though I wasn't sure why. Was I angry? Did I still love her? Hey, she said, her voice hesitant, like she was trying to gauge my reaction. How are you feeling? I stood there, unsure of how to answer. Part of me wanted to ask how she was. The other part of me wanted to scream. I didn't remember what she had done, what had happened between us, but her presence still left a mark. I don't know, I said finally. My voice felt strange, as if the words were foreign to me. I don't remember anything about ... anything. She stepped closer, her face softening with what looked like pity. You don't remember anything? Her eyes flickered with something guilt, maybe. Or was that my imagination? I remember bits and pieces, I said, shaking my head. But it's all blurry, she bit her lip, glancing down at the floor for a moment before meeting my eyes again. I'm really sorry, she whispered. I didn't want you to have to go through this. I felt a sharp sting in my chest, but I couldn't place it. What do you mean? I asked, trying to make sense of her words. Sarah hesitated before speaking again, her voice trembling. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to lose you. Her words confused me. I don't know what happened between us. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. I don't remember you, like I should. There was a silence, thick and suffocating. She took a step toward me, her eyes searching my face like she was looking for something I couldn't give her. You don't remember the last few months? She asked, almost like she couldn't believe it. I shook my head. No, I can't. I don't remember how we got here. How you got here? The silence stretched, and I felt the weight of her presence like an anchor. She had once been my everything, but now she was just another piece of the puzzle I couldn't put together. I didn't want to come back like this, she said softly. I didn't want things to be this way. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw her for what she was, a stranger. I didn't know who I was anymore, but I knew that I couldn't let her back in. Not now. Not when everything felt like a lie. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said quietly, the words sounding foreign and heavy on my tongue. I don't even know who I am anymore. She just stood there, her face unreadable, and in that moment, I realized I wasn't just trying to remember who I had been. I was trying to figure out who I could be now. And maybe, just maybe, that person didn't need her anymore. With that thought, I walked away, leaving her standing there. And for the first time since I woke up in that hospital room, I felt free. When Sarah came back into my life, I didn't know how to react. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to finally let her know how much she had hurt me. But another part just didn't care anymore. She was standing there in front of me, with that familiar look in her eyes. Guilt, regret, maybe even fear. But it didn't move me like it once would have. I was different now. "Hey," she said softly, her voice uncertain, almost hesitant. She stepped into my apartment, eyes searching me like she was trying to figure out what was left of the man she once knew. I didn't say anything at first. I didn't know what to say. All I could think about was how much had changed, how much I had changed. I had learned to live without her. For so long, I had believed I couldn't survive without her. But now, I was fine. I was stronger, more self-aware. She wasn't my everything anymore. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Sarah said, looking down at her hands, twisting the hem of her jacket nervously. "But I need you to understand how sorry I am." The words sounded like the ones she'd said before, after everything went wrong. I could hear the sincerity in her voice, but that wasn't enough. I had heard all the apologies before. Her guilt was so palpable it almost made me sick. But there was something else too, desperation. She was desperate to fix things. And that desperation, it no longer meant anything to me. "You think saying sorry is enough?" I finally spoke, my voice low but firm. I could feel the power shift between us, and I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I stood tall, shoulders squared. "You think that after everything you did, a simple apology is going to change anything?" "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," she replied quickly, almost too quickly. "I just want to make things right. I need you to know that I never meant to hurt you." I was so lost. I didn't know what I was doing. She had never sounded so vulnerable before. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, but I stopped myself. I had been the one lost. She had made me feel like I was nothing. She had broken me. And now, she wanted me to fix her? "No," I said, shaking my head. "I don't need to hear that. I don't need your guilt. You don't get to come back and undo the damage just by saying you're sorry." My voice cracked slightly, but I held firm. "You ruined something sacred, Sarah. Something I can't just forget." Her eyes flickered with pain. "I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted us to work. Then why didn't you tell me the truth?" I fired back. "Why did you lie to me? Why did you hide him from me? How could you betray me like that, when I trusted you with everything I had?" "I was scared," she said quietly, taking a step closer. But I didn't move. "I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't know how to let go of him. I thought I could have both of you." I let out a bitter laugh. "You thought you could have both of us? That's what this was all about, wasn't it? You couldn't let go of him, but you wanted me to believe everything was fine. You wanted to keep me around as some safety net while you played with fire." Her eyes filled with tears. I could see how badly she wanted me to soften, to reach out to her. But I didn't. I'd reached the point where her pain didn't make me feel anything anymore. Maybe it was the amnesia. Maybe it was the time I had spent away from her, learning who I was without her. But all I saw now was someone who had taken advantage of my love. Someone who had broken something I couldn't fix. "I wasn't enough for you," I said, my voice quieter now, but still steady. "I gave you everything I had, Sarah, and it wasn't enough." "I wasn't enough," she swallowed, the tears threatening to fall. "You were more than enough. I was the one who wasn't enough for you. I wasn't good enough to love you the way you deserved." I almost felt sorry for her again. But then I remembered all the times she'd promised me the world and then shattered it. "No more. I don't think I can look at you the same way again," I said, my voice finally breaking through the silence that had filled the room. "I don't even know who you are anymore." She flinched, as if my words physically hurt her. Maybe they did, but it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I wasn't the same person I had been when she left me. The old me, the one who would have forgiven her, who would have believed her empty promises, was gone. I had become someone stronger, someone who knew his worth. She stood there, looking at me like she was waiting for me to say something else, but I couldn't. The words didn't come. "You've already taken enough from me," I said softly, the last sentence hanging in the air. "I'm done." I turned and walked toward the door. I didn't need to see her anymore. I didn't need to hear her apologies. I needed to move forward, and if that meant leaving her behind, then that was what I would do. As I opened the door and stepped out, I felt the final shift. The power had completely shifted, and I was the one holding the cards now. I was in control of my life, not her. Not the ghost of the person I had once loved, and it felt good. I stood there, staring at the papers in front of Metaverse papers. A part of me had imagined this moment 1,000 times, my hands trembling with rage, satisfaction, or even triumph. But as I sat at the kitchen table, there was none of that. No burning desire to destroy her. No cold satisfaction at the thought of watching her suffer. I thought this would feel different, I muttered under my breath, letting the words hang in the air. I couldn't tell if the emptiness inside me was a good thing or a bad one. The rage that had consumed me for months, the anger that had propelled me through every sleepless night, had slowly faded. When Sarah had betrayed me, I had wanted to tear her life apart. I wanted her to feel the same pain, the same gut-wrenching betrayal I had felt when I found out. But as the days passed, her world had begun to unravel all on its own. The lies were coming to light one by one like pieces of a puzzle I had no hand in solving. You want revenge, right? I remembered my best friend Mike asking me weeks ago. He had been the one to push me to do something, anything. But now, as I thought about it, revenge didn't feel like the sweet, comforting thing I thought it would. It felt like a heavy weight I no longer wanted to carry. There was no joy in seeing Sarah's life fall apart. No thrill in watching her apologize to people she had wronged. I should have known this would happen. Sarah's voice echoed in my memory. She'd said it when she finally confessed, when she finally admitted to everything. It wasn't remorse that laced her words. It was the sting of realization that the world she had built on lies was crumbling. She was finally seeing the consequences of her actions. I shook my head, the frustration rising again. Why does it still matter? I muttered. She didn't deserve my thoughts anymore. You're better than this, I heard my sister's voice in my head. She had said it the day I told her about Sarah's betrayal. At the time, I'd wanted to throw the world in her face, to scream at the injustice of it all. But now it felt true. I wasn't the same person who had fallen into that toxic spiral of hate and anger. I had spent too much time letting my thoughts be consumed by the need for revenge. But what would I gain from it? Watching her suffer? Knowing that she had once been the love of my life? It's not worth it, I whispered. I took the papers in my hand, feeling the weight of my decision. The feeling of finality. This was no longer about her. This was about me. I needed to move on. I needed to stop letting her hold any power over me. I could still remember the way she looked when she first came back, her eyes filled with regret. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Her apology felt empty, just like the lies she'd told me for so long. Do you still love me? She had asked when she begged me to forgive her. No, I had replied. The words were bitter, but they were true. It wasn't just the betrayal that made me feel this way, it was everything that came before. The lies, the secrets, the realization that the person I thought I knew didn't exist. I hadn't filed for divorce immediately, even though I knew I should have. I had kept holding on to some twisted hope that things might change, that we could go back to the way things were. But deep down, I knew it was never going to happen now. Standing in front of the divorce papers, I realized that I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her to suffer. What I needed was peace. I needed to reclaim my life. This is it, I said aloud, finally making my decision. My hand hovered over the papers, but I didn't hesitate. With a steady breath, I signed my name at the bottom, marking the end of a chapter that had weighed me down for far too long. The years I had spent in that relationship, the moments I had convinced myself were real, they were all behind me now. Sarah's downfall wasn't my responsibility anymore. Karma had taken care of that. And as for me, I was done. I stood up from the table, feeling lighter than I had in months. There was no triumph, no anger, no victory dance. Just a calm that I hadn't known I could feel. It was time to let go. I was free. I walked into the courtroom with a steady breath, each step echoing louder than I felt. There was no hesitation in my movements. No lingering doubt. The papers were signed. The decision had been made. Today was the end of something that had dragged on far too long. You sure you're okay with this? Mike had asked me earlier, a concerned frown creasing his brow. I'm fine. I had told him, though I wasn't sure he believed me. I wasn't sure I even believed myself. But it didn't matter. The decision had been made, and there was no turning back. The courtroom was quiet, the air thick with anticipation, but it felt almost surreal. The divorce proceedings were mechanical, clinical. I hadn't expected anything else, but it still hit me harder than I thought it would. I glanced at the judge, then at Sarah, who was sitting across from me, her face drawn, her eyes tired. She didn't look like the woman I had once loved. You're sure about this? Her voice, soft but trembling, cut through the silence. I met her gaze, not out of anger, but out of something I couldn't name. I am, I said firmly, without hesitation. Her eyes flickered, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of what used to be there, the love, the connection. But it was fleeting, gone before I could hold on to it. The judge nodded, signaling the finalization of everything. The room felt smaller all of a sudden. This is it, I whispered to myself. More as a reminder than anything else, we both stood, the weight of the moment settling in. My hand was steady as I signed the last paper, sealing everything in place. There was no going back, no more what-ifs. This was the end of a chapter and the beginning of something new. Sarah didn't speak again. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. The regret, the guilt. But it was too late for that. She had made her choices, and now we were here. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. There was no relief, no sense of victory. It wasn't about that. It was about moving forward, about shedding the skin of the past and stepping into a future where I wasn't defined by her or what had happened. How do you feel? Mike asked, walking beside me. His voice was cautious, as though he wasn't sure what answer he was going to get. I took a deep breath, letting the air fill my lungs. It was clean. It was fresh. I'm not broken anymore, I said, my voice strong. He paused, looking at me with something akin to awe. You've come a long way, man, he said quietly. I nodded. Yeah, I have. And I'm not going back. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. That part of my life was over. And as I stood there, looking out at the world beyond the courthouse doors, I realized something. I was free. Free from the chains that had kept me tied to her, to the memories, to the pain. I was ready for whatever came next, for the first time in what felt like forever. I didn't feel like a prisoner of my own past. I was walking forward, and the road ahead was mine to shape. What now? Mike asked, pulling me from my thoughts. Now we move on, I said, my voice firm, filled with resolve. Now I live for me. And as I stepped into the future, I knew one thing for sure. I would never let anyone make me feel less than what I was worth again. Not Sarah, not anyone. I was done with the past. It was time to finally live. The air felt different today. Lighter, almost, as if I were finally breathing after holding my breath for too long. It had been weeks since the divorce, but today it felt like the first real day of my new life. You okay? Mike asked me, glancing over as we walked through the park. His voice had a concerned edge, as though waiting for me to crack. I shrugged, a small smile tugging at my lips. Yeah, I'm good. He raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. You sure? Because I remember you saying it would take a while to get over everything. I chuckled softly, shaking my head. It did. It really did. But, I think I'm finally getting there. It was true. The pain of what had happened still lingered, like a dull ache that was always present in the background. But it wasn't all-consuming anymore. I had learned to live with it, to accept that some things would never be fixed. It didn't make me broken. It made me human. I paused for a moment, letting the breeze wash over me. It felt good. The weight of the past didn't feel so heavy anymore. I'm proud of you, Mike said, his voice softer now. You've come a long way, thanks. I looked at him, my eyes filled with gratitude. He had been there for me through everything, even when I didn't deserve it. I think I've finally learned to forgive myself. Mike didn't say anything at first. He just nodded, as if he understood exactly what I meant. "You're not the same person you were before," he said finally, his voice low. "I can see it. You've found peace." I nodded slowly. "I have. I don't need Sarah to be whole anymore. I don't need anyone to complete me." I smiled to myself, realizing just how true that was. The emptiness I once felt had been filled by my own strength, my own ability to stand up and move forward. I was enough on my own. "What now?" Mike asked, his voice full of curiosity. I stopped walking, looking out over the horizon. The future stretched before me, wide open, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared. "Now, I live for me," I said. "Now, I figure out who I am without her. Without all that baggage." He clapped me on the back, his smile wide. "Sounds like a good plan." We kept walking, the silence between us comfortable, filled with an understanding that only time and experience could provide. I had survived. I had come out on the other side, not just unscathed, but stronger. Sarah? She was a distant memory now, a chapter of my life that had closed for good. I had no space for her in my future. I didn't need her to be happy, to be whole. I had learned that the hard way. As we neared the end of the park, I felt a sense of calm settle in my chest. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was mine, and I was ready for it. "I'm looking forward to the next chapter," I said aloud. More to myself than to Mike. He grinned, giving me a playful shove. "That's the spirit." I laughed, the sound echoing in the air, light and free. And as we walked away from the past, I knew that I was no longer bound by it. I was finally free.